Hey everybody, welcome back to 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and we're at day 23. So we have 8 more days till Halloween. All right. And until then, but before then, we're going to be talking about this movie, and I'm going to introduce the guests. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, I'm Tony Masiello. I'm the owner and operator of SOVhorror.com as well as a filmmaker.
All right. And yes, we were talking about it, and I wanted to pick a movie that was an SOV film that people can watch. You can check it out on Amazon Prime. It's out there. So if you want to see it, it's called Death Metal Zombies. Now you've seen this movie before, right? This wasn't like,
Oh,
like your first time watching it or something. And you are, I'm sure you follow and you're friends with Tony, or not Tony, goodness gracious. I knew I was going to mess up his name from the very beginning.
Jason Falcon Cook.
Yeah, Todd Jason Falcon Cook, who's got a long freaking name on there, but Todd Cook, who also did Evil Night, and he's done Horoscope and tons of different movies. I absolutely adore his films, and because they're so guerrilla, they're so like, they remind me of the stuff that you would see your kids, your friends do with each other. And then he just kept doing it as he got older too, continued doing it with his friends. And I think that's wonderful. And so you were a fan of his before, like, right? Or still are,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I actually first discovered his work. It was probably the late 90s. There was this local video store that used to sell bootleg movies here in San Diego where I live. And I came across a little movie called Dead Rock Zombies. And on the back, I noticed on the back cover, there's some stills from the movie. And there was a picture of a girl wearing a Relapse record t-shirt, which back in the, late 90s, Relapse record was like the coolest record label for like death metal and grindcore and stuff like that, which I was really into at the time. So I'm like, I have to see this movie, Dead Rock Zombies. And so I bought it, and I absolutely love the movie. And it's now known today as Death Metal Zombies. But when it was first out, it was Dead Rock Zombies. Actually, got my old copy right here.
Oh, wow. Holy cow. That's awesome.
Including the new one as well, the Death Metal Zombies. I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan of Todd's work for many years. But this was the first movie of his I ever saw.
So, wow, that's really cool. I didn't even know that when I picked it for us. Like, that wasn't, I didn't think you even told me that. So that's awesome. I really love that. Now let's not get it confused with the other movie, Hard Rock Zombies. We did that for Indie Film Cafe already, and that was that's a harsh movie to watch.
For sure.
Especially like nowadays, like the dude's like hitting on like a 16-year-old dude and writing songs about her and stuff. God, if I had my co-host here, he would go on and on about that because he fucking loves that. He loves torturing people with that movie. It's so bad. But like this is better, but like I think this is cheesier than that kind of stuff. Like these are guys and friends who love each other, hanging out together, making a movie, and just, I mean, rewatching it last night, I laughed my ass off at a couple things. There's a scene where like they're talking about the metal show or whatever, the contest that they got to enter or whatever. By the way, it annoyed me to no end that he stopped the radio at about the time that they're still giving instructions to how to fill out the form, right? They didn't finish, and he turned it off, and I'm like, don't you want to listen to like all of how you do it? Like, it just drove me nuts. Like, as a person who's sort of, I don't have OCD, but like there's certain things I'm like, it should have been finished. Because I was like, I want to know like all how. Like, there's probably more than just, but it's a movie, so they did it probably to save time, or whatever.
Well, the
And now
movie's really cut down as well. So that original Dead Rock Zombies version, I think, is about 20 minutes longer. So this death metal zombies version that he made, it's a 10th anniversary. They cut out a lot of runtime. There's a lot of
yeah.
editing going on. So it's actually way better paced than the original cut for sure.
Well, it was only an hour and 20 minutes, I believe. Like, so you're saying there was basically an hour and 40 minutes of the
Yeah.
movie that 20 more minutes that we didn't get to see. Well, damn it. I need to go get a VHS copy. And I don't know. Does he still sell them on his Scream Time Films page? I
I'm
wonder.
not sure. I know he did it at one point, so I'm not sure though.
Interesting. I would love to check that out, you know?
It's definitely interesting. Actually, after I watched the Death Metal Zombies, cut, I threw on the Dead Rock Zombies cut and watched about half of that last night to kind of compare the two versions a little bit. And it was actually it's drastically different. I mean, a lot of scenes are kind of reorganized and stuff like that. And but this new Death Metal Zombies cut, for people who are probably fresh going into this movie, I would recommend this cut that's on Amazon and on DVD, because it's a lot more accessible to people. For hardcore SOV fans, they might want to check out the old school one, but it's definitely a lot slower paced, not as well edited. And
I am not I'm not a SOV connoisseur like yourself. Like, you seem to know a lot more about it because that's kind of what you dedicate your time toward and everything. I got into SOV. Sometimes I probably watched things that were SOV and I didn't know that was what they were called or whatnot. I grew up on I don't know. I grew up on mainstream stuff, when I was a kid and everything.
sure.
So to watch, movies these days, I'm trying to get into that and understand. And of course, the person who got me sort of more into it is Chris Seaver with his Warlock Home Entertainment, and the fact that even his older stuff, like Meter Man and everything like that was shot on video, like 90s stuff or whatever. And of course, it was when he was younger, so everything was like more childlike, jokes and stuff and everything. And that's what this felt like. This felt like they were still like, I don't know if they're still in their teens or their early 20s or something, but I know it was released in 95, I want to say, but it was probably like, that's the IMDb thing, but it might have been actually released earlier or
Yeah, I
what.
think it's around like 94, 95. Yeah.
I think it was because they did have they had some dated things that they had in the movie that I was just like, wait a minute, he had a Jason Goes to Hell shirt, and I know Jason Goes to Hell is 93, so it had to be about 94, 95 that they made it,
Well, the movie was dedicated to Kurt Cobain too, so he was dead already, obviously.
in 94, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. That makes sense. So about 94, 95-ish that they probably shot it in 94 and released in 95. And I want to do it eventually on Indie Film Cafe as like a more review, like an in-depth look into this and everything, because it's not. It's got its moments where it's not the greatest things, like they mess up a few times on stuff. But that's kind of the love of those, films. When you see that kind of stuff, you see a little of these mess ups and everything because it's do-it-yourself filmmaking,
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, you can't ever look at it and go, well, well, they have millions of dollars in their budget, so you know what I mean? They had whatever, and they were able to make a movie,
I mean, it's amazing, if you really even think of the time, a lot of these guys who were making movies in the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, this is before nonlinear editing. This is before a lot of the technology we have today that makes this so much easier. And back then, with those limited tools, these were guys who were just horror fans following their dreams, and trying to make their dreams come true. And, it's so amazing what a lot of these guys pulled off,
Exactly. We talked about it before, Todd Sheets, he and Todd Cook are two of the sort of pioneers of these. Donald Farmer. There's just tons of these, filmmakers who went out when they were, when they were younger or whatever, and were trying to make these, just get these films made and everything. And they did in the 90s. Nowadays it's a lot easier. You can make a movie on your iPhone.
Right.
You don't need these drastically huge budgets. But I think in a way that also hurts, a
Oh, for
lot
sure.
of things, because back then it was like, okay, we had to learn how to do this, and we had to make something kind of, kind of cool, right? And kind of try to compete with the bigger stuff, right? And then now it's just like everybody can go out and make it. So it becomes not as much, like it's not as much excitement finding a film, because you can find like a million of them,
Sure.
or
Yeah. I
whatever.
mean, you look at the 90s versus today, you'd walk in a video store in the 90s and, every year there'd maybe be 30, 40 horror movies released. I mean, there really wasn't that many movies released per year. And now it's like thousands of movies, and because anyone can make a movie, I mean, literally people shoot movies in a weekend. I mean, I know a lot of people who shoot movies in a weekend and release these. And, back then it took a lot more time, it took a lot more effort and energy, and you really had to be dedicated to the craft to do it, regardless of the output and how it came out. It was a lot harder back then to make these types of movies where, yeah, today you got iPhones, open source, technology, editing equipment and stuff like that, and where pretty much anyone can make a movie. I mean, so there's a lot more shit to wade through these days, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, and you got companies like Wild Eye Releasing, or ITN, and Uncorked Entertainment. Fantastic companies. I love them to death. Like I'm we do indie film cafes, so I adore all these companies. And I check their movies out all the time and everything. However, like Wild Eye will take a lot of films, or whatever, every year. They'll take like 20, 30 films, and they can't put them out I mean, they can put them out every week, I guess, if they could like organize it like that. They could put out one movie a week, with all the stuff they have. Problem is they don't. They usually put it out like almost like once or twice a month. And so you don't really get like, so there's still way too many on the back burner too. There's so many that's out there that hasn't even been put out yet, that are finished, that are ready to go. And it's crazy. It's nuts to see how many movies get in there. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's no different even for my company. I mean, I think our last release was release number like 16, and
Hmm.
I'm already done with release number 25. So I mean, we're no different. We're holding on to releases to release in the coming months.
Yeah, especially, well, now this month, October, obviously is the big time to release horror films or whatever. And like it's so funny when people used to complain when they would put horror films out in like January or February, like they wouldn't do very well. Now they do very well everywhere, because they put them online and people can just watch them. But if you watch them in the theater, like I remember seeing like Upgrade in the theater, and it was sort of horror, ish, kind of thing. But we didn't have a huge crowd, then, or whatever, as crowded as it should have been. That might have also been the film itself. Didn't I mean it did? I think it did well enough. They're making a sequel, but it wasn't, a movie that I guess would play well on a like a Wednesday or something, and a in at 10 o'clock, or I mean, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know what I mean?
Right.
But still, I mean, when you look at the films that are out back in the 80s, and you said like 30 films might come out a year, and now thousands of films get released every year. I mean, that's just amazing to me.
Crazy.
Especially horror films, because at one point people thought horror was dead, or whatever. And I think it just basically got revitalized, um, and
Yeah, I think horror's never been dead, in my opinion. I mean, horror is the genre that continues to bring Hollywood out of the gutter. You look at the 30s, the 50s, the 70s. I mean, it continually happens where horror is just a constant seller. They've always made a lot of money for the studios. It's sad that they don't get the respect from the major studios. They kind of treat them like like crappy movies, you know, for the most part, and don't care about a lot of the properties that they own, which is kind of sad, you know.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and you know, a lot of people give Blumhouse a lot of crap, you know, because they're Hollywood or whatever, even though they're low budget, they're Hollywood, you know, because Universal, you know, whatever. But like, I mean, they're smart. Movies like Death Metal Zombies, you know, had to basically make original, entertaining films, you know, on a low budget because these were films that nobody else wanted, you know, would have made. Like Hollywood would never have made Death Metal Zombies, you know, right?
But today, though, that's the funny thing, you know.
What?
I feel they would today, though. That's kind of the funny thing is you've
Maybe
seen, you know, all sorts of indie kind of tropes, indie horror tropes kind of be adopted by the mainstream, you know.
sort of,
The
maybe.
trauma humor, for example, you know, you see that type of humor a lot more in modern movies where you used to not see that as much. That was more of a low budget type arena, you know, where I feel, you know, the kind of crassness of some stuff has kind of crossed over into the mainstream, you know.
Well, I wanna say a lot of that you know, a lot of that goes to like comedies back in the day, like American Pie sort of brought that back because
Oh,
for
for
a little
sure.
while, I mean, before then there was Animal House, which had that crass comedy kind of stuff that was sort of in the vein of like, you know, trauma jokes and stuff. And then later on, like even that they stopped doing a lot of those, and then American Pie brought it back, and then for a little while they stopped doing those type stuff again. And then like Harold and Kumar came out. So I feel like a lot of that comes in waves.
Yeah,
But yeah, it started with like if you look at it, it started with like Kentucky Fried Movie, which you know, made by the Airplane guys, you know,
yeah.
before, and John Landis, I believe, directed that or something, or was it John Landis?
It
It
was
was,
Zucker
yeah.
Brothers made that, I think.
Well, Zucker Brothers wrote it. I think John Landis directed it. Somebody, maybe it wasn't John Landis, but somebody else directed it. I think he might have produced it, but it's so funny because you know, like look at that, like yeah, that's very much in the same vein as Animal House, you know, or whatever, and that was a great, you know, those were hilarious, but crude and you know jokey kind of stuff. And so, I mean, I guess it just depends on what the audience and they're looking for right then.
Right.
And a lot of times, I don't think anybody was planning that, like Harold and Kumar would do so well, you know,
Right.
and
Sure.
things like that. So they were hoping, you know, that they would get that audience back, but you know, that's the thing. You gotta, when you make a movie, especially on an indie level, like Death Metal Zombies, you gotta like think like what will be something that people would be interested in. And in this case, Death Metal Zombies, the biggest thing was obviously zombies. And the funniest thing, there was the serial killer too aspect of it. There's a guy in a Richard Nixon mask killing people, you
Right.
know, and I thought that was kind of funny.
And
But
like I
like,
kind of mentioned with me, you know, my selling point was the death metal in the movie. You know, I mean, in the '90s, you know, death metal was still very underground, and you didn't really see that embraced in films. It's not like you would watch a movie and hear Exit 13 or Deceased or any of these, you know, great bands from then. And so it's really cool. I mean, that's one thing I really enjoy about this movie is the soundtrack. I think it has some amazing songs by some great bands that I love, and you know that's kind of a really cool aspect of this movie.
so what did you say the original title was? Death Rock
Dead
Zombies?
Rock Zombies.
Dead Rock. Okay. Uh, I'm wondering if they called it that because the dead came back to life, you know, like or whatever. Because the but I mean, I like death metal zombies better. Like I do
For
like
sure,
that
it's a way
title.
better title.
So I think I don't know who changed it. If that was a distribution change originally, or if that was Todd just wanting to do it like release it it's a different title or something, you know. um that's I would love at some point. I do want to interview Todd, and I think I've talked to him at times about potentially doing it. Just never hasn't happened yet. It will trust me. I'm sure he would love to do that, especially just pimping his screen time films stuff that he's doing now, which he's doing a lot, you know. He's re-releasing a lot of his own films, and he's also releasing other people's films, and I think that's
remaking his films now, which is kind of interesting.
yeah. I know he just released another Evil Dead, so which or never Evil what is it
Evil Night.
Evil Night. Another Evil Dead would be a interesting project, but no, another Evil Night, and then Evil Night. He had done Evil Night, and then Chris Seaver remade Evil Night, which I absolutely love. That I have not seen Jason Harlow's Another Evil Night, but I absolutely adored Chris Seaver's one because and I was actually telling a friend of mine. I don't know if you're friends with Dustin Hubbard.
Yeah.
We were just chatting the other night about it, and I said, you know, we both agreed that like Evil Night was just like amazing. Chris Seaver's one. I was like, Chris Seaver should like direct other SOV movies, like remake other people's SOV movies. Because I mean, like his humor and the way he does stuff, I feel like that could be his thing. You know, like if he wanted to do a Todd Sheets film, like I would love to see him do. It was a Prehistoric Bimbos in Armageddon City. Like,
right.
Chris Seaver do that. Like I would, you know what I mean? Like that would be fun.
When he's got this great old school sensibility. I mean, those early Warlock movies are so much fun. I mean, and,
I have most of them. I think I'm missing a couple, which I know I can get. I think I can get them from you.
Get them at my website, sovhorror.com. We put out the 6 of the Warlock releases.
Yeah, I need that Aunt Bedelia movie, and I need which I haven't seen yet or anything, but I think that's it. I've got a whole bunch of them. They're right in my DVD case over there. Because I have a whole stack of just Chris Seaver stuff.
I think most of us do. Yeah, it's a pretty large stack. I imagine he's made so many movies,
and he keeps pissing me off because he keeps saying he's going to get rid of all of them, so it gets me scared.
Right.
And then he later on, he's like, "Okay, I'm getting rid of them again," you know, blah blah blah. And I'm like, so you're not getting this isn't the final sale. I guarantee you. So I'm not running for the hills yet because there's a couple ones I need to re-get because. Problem with DVDs is they scratch, and I need to get like Scrotal Vengeance and a couple other ones, but I need all of Todd's movies as well. So, now that you've got your website and everything, do you also host some of Todd's, or does Todd Cook does he just kind of do more of his his stuff on?
Todd has his own label. He's been running it for a long time. I mean, before Scream Time Films, it was Cemetery Cinema. And that's another thing I really admire about Todd, actually, is as far as I know, he's always self-distributed all of his own movies. I mean, since the early stuff like Evil Night, which I believe was his first release, like ever since then, he's been distributing his own movies. And, you know, Cemetery Cinema, that label, that was the place Chris Seaver first had his movies released from. So, you know, Todd Cook's definitely kind of OG in that style, and he's still distributing his movies, which is great. You know, I know he took a break for his skateboarding career because he's, you know, a professional skater as well, and which is really cool. And but I'd love to release a Todd Cook movie, but I got a feeling he's keeping a hold of those for himself, and you can't blame him. I mean, I know as an indie filmmaker myself, I personally prefer to keep my rights. Like, I sold off a few of my things early on, and it was the biggest thing I regret. And, you know, anytime people ask me for advice, young filmmakers, I tell them, keep the rights to your movies. Don't get rid of the rights to your movies.
Right. Like, I agree that I think my dog behind me is, you want to get down? Okay. He's acting weird. But anyway, you just see him like staring at do you want to get down? Come on, get down. Come on, Zeke. All right, there we go. Like he was just like giving me looks, you know. This is what happens when you do stuff from your house, you know. Like you can't. You gotta do what you gotta do. But anyway, so I want to get more into Todd's stuff too. So I do want to buy some more of that stuff. I'm just right now, especially it's getting close to Christmas and all this other stuff. It's just hard to like do. I think in the new year, that's going to be a plan of mine, is to get more into SOV stuff, maybe like at least once a month, buy one, buy something, so I can try to, so I'll definitely go to your site and buy stuff from you, of course, because you
And
got a
with
lot of
Todd,
stuff.
just so you know, he does. I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but for a while he was doing like a 10 movies, like
I
smaller
think he
box,
still does
and
that.
they were
Yeah.
really cheap. I mean, I think it was like $30. Like I filled up
Like
some of my
35
collection.
bucks or
Yeah.
something for
I mean,
like
a
10 of them.
great deal. So, and a ton of movies, not just his own. A lot of movies that he distributes as well.
Yeah, my buddy John Ward had two of his movies, Axe Massacre 1 and 2,
Right.
distributed by him, and I think that's, I mean, and a lot of people are putting, like, a lot of them are putting them on like Tubi and everything, so you can see a lot of these SOV films and everything, which I think is amazing. Do you have any kind of deal with Tubi yourself, or?
No, I'm actually kind of avoiding streaming on purpose. I mean, we kind of focus on physical media. Um,
No.
the thing about streaming, like I work for Rift Tracks as well as another company, and I actually handle streaming for both of those companies. And the thing with a lot of streaming is there's not a lot of money in it. It's like pennies on the dollar. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're licensing movies, I mean, it's expensive. It's not cheap to license these movies, even these low budget movies. These people want to get paid, and you got to pay them. So if I put my stuff up on Tubi, no one's going to want to buy the DVDs. They're just going to want to watch it on Tubi for free. So I kind of stick to the physical media. At some point, though, we do plan. I mean, this is our second year in operation. So my thought is probably around year 3, I'm thinking we might start kind of putting some titles out there for people to watch on streaming.
Well, yeah, I mean, like my idea is if you put a couple of them on there, then people, it might like the idea of streaming that I like is that it does give people an opportunity to discover the film,
Right.
Problem is, I mean, like if you look at Tubi, there's so much on Tubi that you could watch, or Amazon, there's so much. And sometimes they don't like pop up in your recommended feed, so like Death Metal Zombies wouldn't pop up in my recommended feed, so you have to hear of them somehow, word of mouth, and then like look them up or whatever, and that's a lot harder. So I mean, yeah, I can get it. It's tough, but then there's some films I found because I looked up some other film and then that was what popped up instead, or whatever. So I mean, you just never know. Sometimes you can discover something that's really great and wonderful, and sometimes you find something that's trash. And I love trash too. Like we have Indie Film Cafe was built on a stinkometer. You know, we have like one is like no stink basically, and 10 is like nothing but stink. And then there's we can go 0.5 or whatever. And so I think to me that's a lot of fun, is kind of rating the movies and doing that. But then people get offended if you say their movie is stinky, I guess. But I would love for people to rate my movie like that, it's because that meant that they watched it and they hopefully they got something out of it.
That's all you can hope, is that people get something out of it, whether they like it or not. As they say, any publicity is good publicity. So
exactly, if people are sharing and reviewing your film, that's a good thing,
right.
because somebody might hear, oh my God, that sounds terrible, I need to see that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I feel like there's always an audience for everybody, even if the movie, because nowadays we live in the time where like The Room and everything has been so, everybody just like, talks about, oh my God, we love to go see bad movies in the
Right.
theater on a midnight, screening of it. And I enjoy that. And if I had to rate like Death Metal Zombies, it wouldn't be like a low rating or a high rating. It would be like, I think it would be in the middle, like
Right.
it was fun. It had moments where I'm like, it could have been, they could have done a few things better, but then I always chalk it up to like, script or time or whatever, you just never know with things these days,
Sure.
you know, Death Metal Zombies had a lot of stuff. I keep wanting to talk about that because a lot of my shows, we kind of get off topic and talk about other things. And I feel like we already did that a bunch already, but it happens. I mean, you know, it can't. I don't want to give too much of a review of this because obviously I want to eventually do it for IFC. But this film is a fun film for people who like shot on video. I mean, you definitely recommend it, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. To me, this is considered a classic of the genre. I mean, for sure.
Did you have any like? I mean, having seen both cuts or whatever, what cut would you prefer yourself? Period.
Well, honestly, I'd probably normally I'm a purist and I like the original cuts the best. And I grew up with the original cut of this one, but I feel the anniversary cut, which is the version on Amazon and widely available now, he improved upon the movie a lot. I mean, it's edited a lot better. They actually kind of follow a different main character slightly. Like
Well,
it's
they
just
changed the main character kind of feel to it.
well, the drummer guy, originally in the original cut, the drummer guy is kind of like a bigger character in the film opposed to the guy who actually wins the tape. And so they kind of cut his character down and built up the other character, which I think was a wise choice, honestly. I think it plays a lot better that way. Um, and I think overall it's just a better cut. I mean, I love the original cut too. I say, my thought is always like, if you're an SOV purist, definitely check out the original cut. But, if you're not too into these types of movies and you're just looking for something fun to watch or a casual horror viewer, I would definitely recommend, the print that's currently on Amazon, that's called the 10th anniversary cut. That's kind of, a lot better put together,
Right.
better
Well,
editing and.
I agree because I don't even know who the main character was really in this. Like, I thought at first it seemed like it was Todd Cook's character, who not Todd Cook's character, Bill DeWild's character, right? Who was basically the one who, got the tape from the contest. Then all of a sudden, he gets turned into a zombie, and then it kind of leaves from his story and goes into more of Angel finding everything. Then all of a sudden, Angel runs into one of the guys who I guess took the tape or whatever, and then that becomes like their story of their trying to, you know what I mean? And so I guess I don't even know. Was Angel the main character? Was
Right.
which, at
It
least,
definitely protagonist jumps for sure throughout the film.
well, I think maybe that's maybe a problem with like I don't know if that was a script problem or if they even. I wonder if a lot of these they even had a script. Like if they just kind of like were making up things as they kind of went along. It almost felt like, which isn't a problem if you're good at that. If you can master that. But I typically like to have a script because I go crazy over like improv and stuff. But I don't know who knows because only Todd would know that answer and the people who worked on it.
I'm presuming it did have a script, and and you've worked on indie stuff too. I mean, what happens a lot on indie stuff though too is you get a lot of ad libbing, you get a lot of improv and stuff like that. Especially if you have a director who kind of allows that, so to speak. And so it wouldn't surprise me if some of that was also going on. And then also just making indie films, it's like someone doesn't show up a day. Oh crap, okay, what do I do now? Okay, well, I'm going to give you all their lines because they didn't show up today, and those kind of things all the time.
You have to like think on your feet if something
Mm-hmm.
happens like that because you can't be like, all right, we'll push the production a day, because a lot of people have taken the day off or maybe they're coming from different, coming from someplace, and you got to get it done. So the way that you have to get it done, you're right, you have to change lines to make things work. You have to I had to once a girl called out of a project that we were doing because she was just coming out of the hospital. She had gotten into a car accident the day before. How horrible luck. And she was like, I'm just not going to be able to make it. I said, that's fine. It's fine. It's cool. And in my heart, I was like, oh my God, what the hell, like
You're freaking out.
you're freaking out and everything. So I called up I messaged a friend and asked if she could come out like at last minute, literally like, could you be here like 20 to 30 minutes? And she was, and we still were able to do it. But it's scary because then my thought was like, I'm going to have to change all these lines, give you that line, or just cut these lines out, you know.
Right.
And, you know, like, as long as it makes sense, you know, do it, you know what I mean? And it's tough. So that could have been a lot of what happened on a lot of these, like, shot on video movies or whatever, where people are like, dude, you're not paying me. I don't have to be here, you know?
People working with their friends. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no money in this, especially back then, you know, there's no money in this.
Yeah.
Still no
Yeah.
money. I mean,
Still no money. Well,
you
it's
gotta
even
do it 'cause
worse
you love
now.
it. You got to do it because you love it. I mean, yeah.
It's even worse now because, like, the problem with distributors now is distributors know that these people can make movies for less than $20,000, you know, because it's so easy to do that. So, like, they're like, oh, we're not going to give you any money to make this. You have to go make this on your own, and you have to, you know, and then you're not going to make any money after it's distributed, you know, unless you distribute yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And if you distribute yourself, good luck getting it into Tubi or Walmart or whatever, you know, because those Walmart only, you know, carries like the bigger independent chains, you know. So it's
The other
like,
thing is people don't want to pay anymore. You know, we live in this kind of generation now where, you know, media is so disposable to people, you know, that they just, you know, a lot of people expect stuff for free. I've had so many people say, oh, well, I'll just download the movie, I'll just torrent it, or whatever, watch it on YouTube, you know what I mean? Which obviously hurts us indie guys
I
because we
know.
put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and our own money into these things with the hope, you know, that we at least recoup a little bit of our budget back, which is usually you never do, you know, but you do it because you love it, you know. So it's kind of weird how it is these days, you know. It's like when we grew up, you know, you bought an album and you obsessed on that album. You would read every lyric. You would, you know, nowadays people just pull it up on YouTube. I just casually listen to it, or Spotify, or, you
Oh
know,
my God.
whatever people do these days. And it's kind of sad. We've kind of lost the, you know, like I said, media seems very disposable these days, which is just kind of sad to me.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that's exactly it. Media seems to be put on to the back burner for a lot of things because, like, people can just make whatever they want and put it up on YouTube, you know. So you can sell. We're actually working on Sick Flick TV, our own distribution slash streaming channel on Roku, you know, and everything. Wonderful. Like, I can't wait to do it. And I love like cross promoting with other filmmakers and helping other people out and everything. But yeah, like, I can't pay anyone yet, you know, like, it's going to have to be free because until we start making money off of it, then I can start doing stuff with people, and people know that and everything. But it's scary going into that world because, you know, like, we're probably not going to do very, you know, well in the beginning, you know, or whatever. Takes a while to catch on, you know.
Sure.
But, you know, I've already got amazing people like Steve Rosinski is letting me have one of his projects to stream. You know, Michael Hoffman, do you know him? He did like the Scary Tales movies and a bunch of other things, Spring Break Massacre and stuff like that. He's letting me have the Scary Tales, which are like fantastic you know, movies, like anthology films, starting like Joel Winecoop, you know.
Oh, nice. I love Joel.
Oh, I love it. So I'm really excited. Like, I can't wait to dive into that world, but it's going to be scary because it's like, you know, as a distributor, you just don't know. And so I like, yeah, we give Todd like a lot of props for making the movies and then distributing them himself and going to the conventions and getting out there and shaking hands and kissing babies and doing all the things that we have to do as a, you know, like, indie filmmakers, right? I mean, that's how people find you. That's, you know, or whatever. Nowadays it's Tubi that people find people, and or whatnot, or websites like yours, like anything that kind of showcases indie films. So I love it. Death Metal Zombies, like I said, I definitely recommend. If you guys haven't seen it yet, like Tony said, go to the what is it? The
Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
Films.
You can watch it, and it's very easy to watch. Like, it's not like there's no like hard stuff. Like, there's things that kind of made me laugh. like the scene where she's they're the three girls that I guess are having a slumber party, open up the refrigerator, and then when they close it, the Richard Nixon guy is there, and I'm like, really? Like he just like popped there, like if he came out of the cabinet or whatever that was right next to them, it would have made noise. They would have heard it, like he's not like a ninja Nixon, I don't think. So it just was really funny because it was like supposed to be like a scary psych out gag. And I'm like, it obviously couldn't have really, I guess neither can zombies, like exist, or whatever, so.
What's funny is that scene. So that's the opening scene of this movie, but in the original cut, that's like in the middle of the movie. So that's not even,
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how they did that with the new cut and everything.
I think they were just trying to kind of bring some zombie action into the first few minutes, because the original cut, it just kind of starts off with credits and then the headbangers kind of partying and whatnot, kind of introducing all the lead characters.
All right. Well, there you go. That's awesome. So, all right. Well, if everybody go check out Death Metal Zombies. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys liked it, if you guys didn't like it. I mean, I honestly recommend it for Halloween time. It's definitely got that kind of October kind of feel to it. So, if you want to check something that's just kind of goofy, kind of fun, not meant to be like taken too seriously. I do like the line about playing the song backwards, and he was like, I don't have anything that can actually do that, right? Like there's no tape thing that can actually make a tape play backwards, like even doing
it out, though.
What? They figured it out. They figured it out, which was great. It was fantastic. It was a great movie. Check it out if you get a chance to watch it. Let us know what you guys think. Tony, tell us a little bit more about what you're up to.
Yeah, so I'm running SOVhorror.com. We pretty much specialize in releasing rare shot-on-video movies, usually mainly stuff from the 90s, early 2000s. We got a lot of stuff that's our lost movies, so we discovered movies like Metal Noir, The Spirit Gallery, Purveyors of Blood. These are all movies that never saw a release until we put them out. And I'm always just looking for cool, interesting movies to put out. I'm a huge shot-on-video movie fan. I mean, they were pretty much the movies that inspired me to get into the film industry, and I ended up working on Hollywood films and a bunch of big stuff. But SOV is always where my heart's been, so that's kind of why I started this company, was to kind of get these movies out to fans, because I know there's not a ton of us out there, but there's definitely fans for these types of movies. And we're up to, like I said, I think we just put out release 16 or 17, and I'm putting out 2 a month. Next month, my second feature film comes out, a movie called Natasha Knighty's Boudoir Blood, which is an anthology kind of throwback to old cable shows like USA Up All Night. So
nice.
Kind of like USA Up All Night, if USA Up All Night had a stripping horror hostess and there's blood and nudity in it. So
nice.
And complete with commercial breaks, and there's a lot of familiar faces for indie horror fans. One of the shorts is directed by myself, another by Jeff Kirkendall, who's probably known for his work with the Polonias.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Ford, classic SOV director. And then we got people like Madeline Deering, Rebecca Reinhardt, Mel Heflin, Dylan Fawn Harvey, all doing commercials. So
that's so awesome. I love it. I love that stuff. Rebecca works with me on the Indie Film Cafe. We do, she does 80s horror film podcast with us, and then she also is working with my co-host on a sexploitation sleazecast show. So they watch really bad, like they just did Bat Pussy. So I don't, like really bad, like I
know Bat Pussy, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're well aware. So yeah, they did that, and I love it. I trying to get the stuff out a little bit more, but and do all these podcasts here as well as the vidcasts and things. So, but yeah, I love Rebecca. I love everybody you've mentioned. It was funny. You were talking about people and I'm like, I know that person. I know that person. Like, I don't think you said anybody that I wasn't familiar with. And I think that's awesome. Rod Ford is amazing. I would love to get him on something at some point because he's one of those guys who I think we've talked about working together on things and just never, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I just had Ron on my podcast, so I got a podcast too, the SOV Horror Podcast, and we just had him on a couple weeks ago. So
do you also do SOBs who love SOV? Is that also your show too?
well, that's Rebecca's show. I'm one of the co-hosts on it. So me, her, Slade, and Madeline Deering.
Okay.
We're kind of on a hiatus right now due to people's work schedules and whatnot, but hopefully we'll be back to doing that soon. I miss talking to my SOB buddies. So.
Well, it's cool. What I like about it is you don't just do that, but you also guys do like interviews too, right? With some of the people, if I'm correct. So some of the directors of the movies and stuff like that. Like I think that's amazing because it gets the word out about them, and then they can, I've had Donald on my podcast since 2008, or whatever. So I've had him for so long, and I always love having him. Like every time he comes on, he's just so nice, and such a really
knowledgeable as well.
Yeah. I actually I live with one of his actors, one of his former actors, Jackie. So So it's wonderful to kind of be in that world in a way, vicariously, through that world. We reviewed last season, we reviewed Vampire Cop of his.
Nice.
So I hope to do more. I'm hoping he releases more of them on like Tubi or whatever, these things. Cause I mean, we could do Shark Exorcist, but like, I would really like to do his older, like SOV films on the podcast at some point. So, but it's wonderful. Like it's such a great thing of being able to get these movies out there, That's the main reason we started IFC, Indie Film Cafe, is because we wanted, to get indie films that nobody's ever really heard of and talk about them. I mean, only people like you and me have heard of movies like Prehistoric Bimbos and Armageddon City. Not many people
used to cover that theme song.
What? Your band?
The band used to cover the theme song.
That is awesome. Oh my goodness. We'll have to get you on another time and do like another interview with you. Yeah, because just get more information. I feel like this was half review, half interview too.
Sorry.
No, it wasn't your fault. That was more me. I'm like, I go crazy whenever I have a guest on that, I can just chat with about their work and everything, the stuff that they're doing. But that's kind of how I got into podcasting to begin with, is because I always wanted to freaking find out more information, and stuff. It helps with, I think that's the greatest thing about these podcasts is you talking about SOV, SOV stuff, and me talking about indie film stuff or whatever. People listen to our show and they can learn how to go make a movie on their own,
right.
And everything. And maybe it helps, somebody when they listen to our show, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
But they discover some new movies that they wanted to see otherwise,
Exactly. Paul makes me watch all these crazy movies anyway, that I've never heard of, and I'll tell you what, though, I don't know what the worst movie you've ever seen is or whatever. I don't know if you'll ever mention it or not. But I will say Actium Maximus is like my least favorite of all the movies so far. Like I can watch a Neil Breen movie before I can watch Actium Maximus. I don't know if you heard of that one or not. But
I've never seen that one. No.
Oh, you're lucky. I had to sit through that, and I did not enjoy it.
The way I've always classified bad movies, because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of people think SOV and indie movies are bad. They judge them against Hollywood-type films.
Right.
You just can't do. And I've always said, to me, bad movies aren't movies with bad acting or production value or effects even, or even a bad story. They're movies that are boring, As long as you're engaged throughout the film and you're entertained, regardless if it's for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, You know, if you're entertained, it's a good movie, you know, as long as you enjoy it. It's movies that it's like, you know, torturous to get through that are bad movies, you know, where you just want to like punch your TV or something or throw it out the window because you just can't take it anymore.
That was Acting Maximus. What drove me nuts about the movie was it was boring, but it was boring because you could barely hear and understand what they were saying
Right.
and stuff, and a lot of it just made no sense. So I'm just sitting through the movie going, like, I just want this movie to end. And it was the shortest so far. I believe it's the shortest indie film cafe we've done because I didn't want to talk about it. Like I was
Right.
just like, I hate it. We had to do another one, and they invited me to come back on it because we needed a third person. So they tortured my co-host's roommate with it, and I was like, nope, I'm not coming back. But we have said now, if they donate, we're gonna have the link to my Patreon. If you donate $1 and we get up to $5, I will watch Acting Maximus again and review it again. Only for our patrons only. But, if, that's the only way. I told Paul I'll never watch that movie again unless I'm getting paid to do it, So if I get paid to do it, even for just 1 month of payment or whatever for that, I will do it. But aside from that, nope, not at all, because it's just not for me. But yeah, it was great having you on, dude, because honestly, you've done so much for Shot on Video, horror films that are out there, and to help people out. And I think that's amazing and really appreciative of that, because some of those films I never would have heard of, you know. And you said you're discovering ones. Like, I know, like, Warlock is fun because it's like pretending like they just discovered them. But like when you actually discover ones that have never been released before, that is amazing to me, And maybe Chris could do that. I don't know. Like, could try to find ones that have not been released, or,
That's tough, there's not a lot out there, and there's a lot of people trying to get them. So, it's definitely not always easy to find these types of movies, especially good ones. I mean, to me, that's always, I only want to put out stuff I like. So it's like, if I think it sucks, I'm not going to put it out. It's been my rule since day one,
Right. But when you say it sucks, like it's boring and it's not fun and it's not whatever.
Yes.
But when you the ones you like are the ones that are just over the top or just ridiculous, or like the acting might be atrocious, but at least it's entertaining because it's atrocious. And I agree, that's sort of our thing with indie film cafes. We'll watch movies, some of them we've never even seen before, and we'll just be like, let's watch this, and we'll watch it, and it may not be what we think it's gonna be. One I'll say I was very happy about was Mark Polonia's Sharkenstein, starring Jeff Kirkendall. I thought it was just over the top stupid that it was fun. If
I haven't seen that one yet. I'm still gonna see that one.
it's silly, but it's definitely, I had it on a DVD with DVD 3-pack with Raiders of the Lost Shark and Shark Exorcist. And we haven't reviewed Shark Exorcist yet, but reviewed those two other ones already. So we've done two shark movies on that thing. So
Right.
we can eventually do the third one. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll do the third one in the fourth season. I don't know. It seems like the second, third season we've done them. So, and it's a shark movie. I mean, who doesn't love shark movies? Crappy shark
Maddie
movie.
Deering, who you just had on, she's huge shark movie fan.
Yeah, she has a podcast called Shitty Shark Movies or whatever. So I adore that stuff. We did for IFC for a little bit. We did Shark Attack Sunday, where we had like crappy. We wanted to do crappy ones. We didn't want to do. So many people talk about Jaws, and we've done that on good podcasts. But like, those are done to death. We want the ones that like, a lot of people won't watch because they're so dumb sounding. Sharkenstein or
Sure.
I
I worked on one called Jurassic Shark. I don't know if you've seen that one.
That's from the people who did Raiders of the Lost Shark.
Brett Kelly.
Yeah,
That
Brett
was
Kelly.
the
Yeah,
early effects gig I did. I did some of the explosions in that movie.
we did Raiders of the Lost Shark, which was his sequel, I guess, to
Okay.
Jurassic Shark, and we should have done Jurassic Shark first and then do the sequel later, but whatever. It didn't matter. You sort of didn't need to. Yeah, all you need to know is there's a shark in that area at the
Right.
same place. So whatever. It didn't matter. I think Brett was scared that we're gonna give it a bad review and everything and scare people off from watching it. But I mean, you kind of put it out there. It's not the greatest movie in the world. We all know that when we go to see it. I guarantee you at some point a Ouija shark will be up there, Uh, I know like there's so many of these movies that Wild Eye is putting out that's just so like beyond ridiculous with titles, like there's a Ouija mummy, there's a Ouija shark, uh, you know, everything these days have like the same titles or
Yeah.
whatever, and they're just trying to get a lot of these out there. I can't wait to see a lot, see everything that's being made. The crazier the title, the more fun I think, it's going to be, you know what I mean? So, but thank you once again, Tony.
Thank you.
Stick around. I'll talk to you after the thing, but thank you everybody who watch this and join us tomorrow for another one. And we'll talk soon. Bye guys.